And guess who's on the phone with us? Good afternoon, John.
Hello.
Hello. No,
How's it going?
Is it noon exactly for you where you're at, or are you at 2?
It's 2. It's 2
o'clock.
here.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And is it 5 degrees where you are? We woke up to a cold morning.
Oh no. No, it's rainy today. Winter hasn't really commenced or anything like it. It's been actually crazily, unseasonably warm in Brooklyn recently. It was in the 70s last week. So we're still clinging to this illusion of warm weather.
We had that too just on Saturday. It was 72 or 73.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
and
maybe it's...
then we've had a couple days of snow, and that's gone.
And that's Minnesota.
That's Minnesota, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, John.
Yeah, it's always a treat to chat with you.
Always a pleasure. Great to talk to you again.
And I was telling you that we're just getting inundated with requests, and our goal this year was to hear from France, because we've never in the 6 years prior had gotten a request from France. And
that's crazy.
That happened almost immediately.
C'est fou. Oh, good. Excellent. I was trying to think if I knew anybody in France, and I was like, damn, I have no friends in France. People that I know personally, and I would have called somebody and said, you got to call these guys.
France came through for us.
The other thing too that's been going on today is we've had so many people tuning in from around the world that our streaming has been crashing all day because it can't handle the workload. So
Which
wow.
It has been a big
happened.
Day around KMSU.
I was impressed that somebody requested just now. I heard somebody requested the Greek language version of number 3, which is a totally I mean, I guess there's a lot of this kind of thing in our catalog. It's like we have not thought about some of these recordings in a long time, and maybe justifiably so.
No.
I think that somebody else disagrees. But yeah, I was informed by a Greek person that my Greek pronunciation super sucks.
Well, you had us fooled.
I know it's a little sad because I have a Greek ancestor, so I'm they're like their ghost is frowning.
Well, I know we just had a request for a song that I don't think I had ever heard called Blood Boat, and I thought, well, that can't
Blood
be.
Boat, yep.
But that was awesome.
I know that song. Yeah. That was a demo. I mean, it's you can tell I just recorded it at home. It's not. I don't think anybody else was involved with it. No, it was just like a direct home demo that somehow wound up on Dial Song.
I loved it. So even I, who have been doing this for a number of years and try to listen to everything, there's you guys still have stuff out there that I need to hear, which is fun.
I don't know if need is a strong word, I would say. No.
Well, we've had a lot of people asking questions, and I've got one right off the top that I'd like to ask just briefly. Because you are going to be putting out a new solo album, and is this correct, about Roman songs with Latin in it?
It's not an album. It's just 4 songs.
Okay.
And it's just an offering for our fan club at the moment. There's not any higher ambition to it. But the songs are all in Latin. That's pretty much it.
Are you channeling a Latin relative?
I don't. Probably not. I mean, although actually, this is an instance where it would be harder to get called out on my bad pronunciation, because even the people who spent their lives studying Latin don't know for sure how it was pronounced back in the day.
Oh, that's very true.
So for all they know, it's my pronunciation is perfect.
Well, do you want to share some questions, Tim?
Well, we have a question here from Stephanie in Plano, Texas, who says, so many of your songs follow narratives that leave me wondering about the characters long after the song has ended. Have you ever written any short stories or have you have any have any ideas ever seemed too big to limit to one song?
The answer to the second part is no. But yeah, I mean, I think I considered, like, it'd be fun to write. So I've never really had enough, like, I tend to, like, spread myself pretty thin with all my hobbies and everything. And I've never really sat down and worked on, writing stories or being a writer. But it always seemed like that would be a fun job as well if I didn't have other stuff I was doing. And the songs have, like you're suggesting, they have these narratives, which is kind of like writing. I would say, like, probably John would say the same thing, that we are influenced by things outside of songs, and in particular stories. If you want to write a story song, there's a lot of great just stories that you can use as inspiration. You don't have to write a song based on other songs necessarily. Actually, now thinking about it, that's reminding me that, a couple things. One is that we collaborated with a bunch of writers when we did this McSweeney's project. So there was at least this idea that we were writing music or songs that somehow connected to stories or literary projects that other McSweeney's writers were putting together, and that we were kind of working in parallel with those guys. So, for example, the song "Bangs" was, I guess, partly inspired and was inspired by a Zadie Smith story. In other words, we come up with this demo of the song "Bangs," and then she wrote a story based on that, and then we altered the lyrics of "Bangs" a little bit to connect it up with the short story that she'd written, and that was part of the McSweeney's package, which was fun. And then we did this whole kind of touring version of that thing, where the writers got up and read stuff, and then we either played along behind them or played in between their readings and stuff. And so we got to hang out with all these writers, and felt like we were part of this literary scene, which was super fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna hunt that down on YouTube. I don't know if I've ever seen any.
Oh, well,
of those.
there's a McSweeney's. I think it's like the 6th issue of McSweeney's, which is a hardbound book. And it
I'm familiar with it. I've just never been able to find it because I want to say that sold out like almost immediately, and I've never happened upon it.
It's probably a rarity now, but you can probably track down some of the music. And some of the music that we did for that, like obviously "Bangs" wound up on the Mankato album, and I forget where all of it wound up, but we didn't, we were milking that stuff afterwards.
Do you have any more free time with everything that's going on in the world right now with sheltering in place than you might have had before, or not really?
I have a lot of free time. Oh, yeah, I guess that's what you meant. Yeah, we had a tour that was planned, and that got knocked on the head. And so, yeah, we've been sitting around. Did Flans tell you about his surgery?
Yeah, on both of his hands. So, he's got another one coming up, he said.
Yeah. So he was supposed to be taking care of this problem a long time ago, but it wasn't until the COVID lockdown that he really had just a lot of free time to suddenly deal with his hand issues. So that, I mean, in a way, I suppose it's like a bittersweet situation where we didn't get to tour, but he got to deal with his issues. And then I've been doing nothing basically. I've written some music, but I did my Roman songs.
Okay.
And then we've been polishing up the stuff that we'd already recorded. But mostly I'm doing a lot of goofing off actually.
Well, that's kind of fun to do though too.
It's fine. It's one of my specialties.
Well, let's see here. We have a question from Kyla in Montclair, New Jersey, who asks, do you have any tips on getting better at accordion?
Well, I mean, there's a whole range of ways. I'm sort of like an unschooled accordionist is the thing. I know people I have friends who are really good accordionists who play in like orchestra pits and stuff, or they're just amazing. They really study the accordion. They've actually gone to school to study accordion. And I am, I'm not in that category. I'm self-taught, and I played keyboards and then transferred that skill over to the playing the piano accordion. So I mean, I'm not probably a good person to turn to for advice, but I would say just like find your own bliss with it. I don't think there's this particular. It depends on what you want to do with it, right? But the main thing is just to practice and figure out how to make it do what you want. I know that's just incredibly banal advice, but there's also a whole range of kinds of accordions. I know somebody a young person who originally wanted to play the button accordion, and that's just a whole completely. I don't know how to play that. Like the kind that has buttons on the right hand.
Oh, sure.
It looks like a typewriter, basically. And those are popular in Russia and Eastern Europe, and I don't know how to play those. The fingering is completely different. And then there's a smaller version of that which just has a row of buttons that's popular in Louisiana. That's the kind that you play in your Zydeco band.
Sure.
And again, the distinction. Stop me when I'm boring you, but the main difference with that is it plays a different note depending on whether you're pushing the bellows in or pulling them out, kind of like a harmonica. So in other words, you have to know which direction the bellows are going in to know what note is going to come out, which is not the case with the accordion I play. I play a piano accordion, and it's just like a piano, and the note it says what it does on the can. It plays the note that you're pressing down with your finger.
Well, we're in the heart of polka land, so around our part, it's concertinas. In fact, just a couple weeks ago, we do a Polka to You Puke show for Oktoberfest, and we have a concertina Hall of Famer who's been playing since he was 4, and he's now in his mid-80s. And
wow.
He collects concertinas, and so he always brings in 2 or 3 of them, and they're just so much fun to have live in the studio playing, and they're beautiful. They're almost works of art.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. They're. I mean, as I understand, also it's another instrument where the fingering is completely alien. It's nothing like a piano keyboard,
yeah. And it's both hands,
and it plays a different note depending on whether you're pushing in or pulling out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a utterly different contraption.
So in conclusion, practice.
Yeah, I would say, one of the ways to practice is just to play the stuff that whatever it is you like, and that's a lot easier than playing exercises where you're just trying to, follow some regimen of, making your fingers do more and more technical things. I would say I'm sort of an adherent of the former school where you find music that you like and you just play that over and over again.
Sure. Yeah, then it's fun other than doing scales.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, here's an interesting one from Quinn in Seattle, Washington. It's in an interview you mentioned having a homemade timeline of the history of the universe across your wall. I would love to hear more details about this. How do you decide what events are worthy of being included in it? Are things organized in any particular method? Have there been any new events since you first made it that are important enough for inclusion?
Yeah, no. Well, so sadly, we moved into a house in Brooklyn that had a very, very long continuous wall about 16 years ago. And so I just thought it'd be fun to make this timeline. And my son was very small at the time, so I thought he would be amused by it. But then we decided to paint the whole downstairs. This was like 10 years ago. So unfortunately, the timeline was removed and it's gone now. But the cool thing about it, and this is kind of a nerdy thing, was that it was a logarithmic scale. So I think it was like every 10 inches or so, the scale doubled. So at one end was like the Big Bang and all the stuff, but all those things were very close together. And then as you move toward the present, the scale got more and more, it stretched out more and more. It's kind of hard to explain this, but anyway, so to the point where by the very end, it was like, a year was 10 inches, and then, that was the end of it. If you get what I'm saying. So the scale kept changing. And the idea was that you could plot lots of detail throughout the history of the universe, and it would all be sort of plain and visible depending on, which part of the history of the universe you were looking at. So that was pretty cool. But I feel like I did most of the work on it. I was trying to get everybody else involved, and my son, who was young at the time, had just made like a drawing of the atom bomb being dropped on Japan and a couple other spectacular events, and then I wound up doing most of the work, which I was resentful about.
I have a question that just came in on our texting machine. Let's see, is there a name here? Somebody in Chicago, or excuse me, in Illinois, wants to know if the audience ever scares you.
No, I would say not generally. I mean, I can't think of any particular. No, I think we have a pretty good relationship with our crowd. They're very friendly, especially, the people who are right up against the stage are the most friendly people. And then the people who would maybe look at us like they'd be less into us are all the way in the back of the room. So we're getting like the nicest vibe right near where we are. I suppose there's like some crazy drunk person who's having a mental breakdown or trying to disrupt everything. That's not particularly scary, though. I think it's mainly just kind of irritating.
Yeah. Do you have some more questions, Tim? Otherwise, I'll start asking away.
Yeah, why don't you ask, and I'm digging through these.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you already can guess one of the questions that we love hearing from you every year is what books you happen to be reading.
Books.
Yes.
So many books. Well, this has been a year of reading books.
Yeah, it really has.
What else are we into? I don't know. I guess I'm trying to think of what I was reading last year when I spoke to you. I think there was I was getting into sort of some other, around the world type stuff. Like I think I'd read the Mahabharata. Is that
Yep.
That was one of them. So this year I got into African literature, and so far I reread the wonderful Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, which is just a great book. And then I started reading a novel from a Kenyan author, which is also probably pretty well known, called Weep Not, Child. And I'm forgetting the name of the author now, but it's basically a more recent. It's a novel about more recent events, and in particular events leading up to Kenya becoming an independent, nation, and it's about this situation called the Mau Mau uprising. So if you're interested in African history, it's a great little starter kit for that.
Okay.
For recent events in African history. What else? Should look at my I actually read a bunch of things on my little iPad. So
well, it's kind of nice, and you can go
out.
back and see where you've read for the year.
Yeah, and it's you can carry around a lot of books.
This is true.
On the subway. Let's see what's here. Oh yeah, I finally saw Hamilton. I don't know if you guys have. I feel like I'm the very last human to.
I have
Hamilton.
yet to see Hamilton.
I saw the
good.
Disney
So
Channel presentation of it. So yeah.
Yeah. You could. There was a period in the summer where you could just get a free trial subscription on Disney Channel, and then I think everybody did this, where you just like sign up, watch Hamilton, and then unsubscribe.
So, what were your impressions of Hamilton?
It was sort of what I thought it would be. It's not exactly my cup of tea, but it was fun, and it got me thinking again about that period in American history. So leading up to saying, I started to reread the novel Burr by Gore Vidal, which is about Aaron Burr, which is, I think, a much more sympathetic, fictionalized story about Mr. Burr, and not particularly sympathetic to Alexander Hamilton. So if you want to get a different take on that whole story, go to Gore Vidal. That's a good one. What else? I don't know.
Well, I have a question from John, who is one of the admins for the Miscellaneous Tea Facebook chat room. And he wants to know, because John Flansburgh talked a little bit about the new book coming out, Book. Do you have anything that you'd like to share about the album, Book?
Do I have anything? That's a very broad question. We're still not finished. Actually, we've got like, it feels like we're almost done, but we still have to mix everything, and there might be some late additions to it. So I still don't have a full picture of what it is that we. It's kind of crazy that we started making this album last year, and then everything just stopped, and we just stopped in our tracks because of the COVID, and now we're going to be coming back to all this material that we recorded with our band, and I guess we might mask up and get back in the studio with these guys, but we haven't really. I think we haven't quite figured out if we've got new songs that we want to add in yet, or if we're done. But anyway, I mean, I like where it's at already. So I don't know. I never know what to say about stuff. I generally feel insecure about the stuff until we're finally 100% finished. And I literally, I think every album we've ever made, I feel like, oh no, this isn't coming together until really the last minute, or maybe even after it's been out and it's kind of settled in some way.
Sure.
It's always a nerve-wracking experience. But I'd say we're there's a bunch of songs that I like a lot, and So we're not in terrible shape, I would say.
I love a question we just got from Anna in Huntsville, Alabama. She wants to know what you've been eating the most during quarantine.
Oh, that's a good question. Because of course your dietary habits change when you're cooking for yourself mostly, right? Like if you can't go out, then suddenly you really have to focus on, I mean, I tend to eat the same breakfast like almost every day. So I would say I got heavily into making omelets with particular things that I never realized how delicious they were. And one of them was onions. I'm like really into onions for some reason, which is kind of a new thing for me. I mean, I never didn't like onions, but now I'm just like feeling this craving for more onions, in my omelet. Usually it's onion and either some meat or cheese or something else, but the onion is like got to be in there. So that's been one thing, aside from that, my son like cooks Blue Apron. Do you know about the Blue Apron?
Sure.
So that's kind of his specialty. Is he will cook for us a bunch of nights a week, and he just picks it and makes it, and so it's usually complete like I have no idea what this is. It's some completely new idea of food, but they're always good. I am not getting paid to advertise Blue Apron, but I do like their product. Although I actually have one complaint, which is that they have certain parts of their packaging which are not recyclable in New York City, and the company will not take them back. And it's almost become a deal breaker now, because we have these big insulated bags that the food comes in, and they're just piling up. We have nowhere to put them, and nobody will take them. So that's annoying. But I'm kind of off on a pointless tangent now. But
well, Tom and I can relate. We have a similar issue with Blue Apron.
With Blue Apron, yeah.
Yeah, we like their stuff, but too much packaging.
The packaging, basically, right? Yeah, it's annoying.
Well, I wanted to ask you, because earlier when we were speaking with John Flansburgh, perhaps you know him, I mentioned that I'm going to be going on to a podcast where folks talk about different songs of yours, and then talk about themselves as well. And it's been around for a long time, and so I had the songs I could choose from are limited because so many people had done a lot of the songs. But I was trying to narrow down my choices between XTC versus Adamant and Were the Replacements. And I mentioned to John that I wanted to do that because we're in Minnesota and I love the Replacements and they're legendary. But then I'd read somewhere that that song is not about the Replacements, and he said, No. Ask John. So I'm asking you, because he said it's about the Replacements, but more like using the Replacements as a example of that kind of band.
Yeah, that's fair. That's it's one of the things where I haven't tried to articulate what that song is about. I haven't thought about it in probably decades, but I think that's probably right. It's a song which is using the Replacements as an example of the kind of band that every band has this kind of feeling of like, hey, we're super great, but also we're secretly these losers, or we're celebrating our fantastic lives, but then we're like having to sleep on the metal floor of the van, and it's like the least glamorous thing you can imagine.
So I might do "Hey, We're the Replacements" instead.
Okay.
But both of your choices are songs that reference other bands. So
Yeah.
it sounds like it's something that you're particularly gravitating towards.
Well, I am a big fan of XTC, and in fact, it was Andy Partridge's birthday on Wednesday, so we played all XTC on our show. But
Excellent.
but then, of course, you gotta love the Replacements. If you live in Minnesota, Prince and the Replacements and Husker Du and the Suburbs are
And
kind of
Bob Dylan. He's okay.
Oh yeah, and Bob Dylan.
Still.
Right, Bob Dylan.
We have a question from Rachel.
What about Bobby V? You guys are forgetting Bobby V.
Yeah, that's right, Bobby V.
I just
Absolutely.
want to say, don't forget about Bobby V.
That's right.
Sorry, you were about to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say, Rachel in the UK has a question for you. It says that she heard that you have an early background in classical music and that a favorite composer of yours is Bach. Sometimes she thinks she hears those contrapuntal influences emerging in some They Might Be Giant songs. Would you be prepared to tell us about this and explain why rock music was more appealing as an outlet than elite forms of music?
Well, I don't have a background in classical music. I should start with that. But I, definitely got very interested in Bach. I think really mainly because of Wendy Carlos switched on Bach thing, which I probably was like 10 years old when my brother brought home that album, and I think eventually got into Glenn Gould and people who are probably less off the graph in that sense. I love Bach. Bach is great. I guess pathetically I have, as an adult, tried to learn how to play Bach on the piano, and I'm not a trained classical piano player, so it's just me banging out stuff and but yeah, no, and I would probably say I can't really, not going to maybe come up with specific examples, but I'd say there's probably a few Bach references musically in stuff that we've done here and there. The very beginning of Where Your Eyes Don't Go has a kind of
Oh sure, yeah.
Jesu, joy of man's desiring little moment there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably some other ones in there, but I can't remember what they are.
So you chose rock because rock chose you.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll go with that.
I've just gotten 3 different questions from different people, and if this gets a little too detailed, feel free to just say next question. But wanting to know, do you sing songs that Flans write, or do you just sing your own songs, or how does that work?
That's a good question, and that's a good way of putting it, because we have sung each other's songs, but normally we each sing our own songs. There just have been a few occasions where it just seemed like, this might be better if the other guy sang it, but it's rare, I would say. Mostly we sing our own songs. John asked me to sing what I think is the lead part in the song "Impossibly New," which I love that song so much, and so it killed me that he wanted me to sing it. But mostly we kind of feel like the song is defined by our own. Yeah, so I asked him to sing "The World's Address" just because I wanted to hear him have at it.
Okay. Well, you just made a lot of people happy because it was that must have been just floating around in the zeitgeist because 3 boom 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 questions came right in for that, which is crazy. Synchronicity in questions. Did you have another one, Tim?
Well, I have one. This is one we actually asked Flans, and I'm interested in your response too. It was Ben in Kendallville, Indiana asked, says, you have a unique fan base. What is one aspect of that fan base that you are most proud of?
Wow. Proud of. That implies a kind of weird ownership. I feel like the fans they're not like doing something we're telling them to do. You know what I mean? Like they're kind of, they make their own choices. So it's not like, I mean, if we were proud of them, it'd be like we're taking credit for them in a way that I feel that feels a little wrong to me. I feel like we came up with this thing that we liked, and then we attracted other people who liked the same kind of thing, but we were never really trying to come up with. We were never trying to find out what other people liked and do that, if you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't a question of like, how can we please this, theoretical audience? It was more like, what do we think would be good, and that, if we were lucky, other people would also be attracted to it. So I feel like, I know this is a tangential kind of answer, but I don't feel like being proud of our audience. That feels a little bit off to me. I'm very grateful for the audience. This is how I would frame it. I think it's fantastic that people come and see our shows and are so, they're so generously paying attention and enjoying what we're doing. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird job.
Well, I can't tell you how much we're looking forward to everything getting back to some form of normalcy so that we can resume the Flood Tour. A lot of us are still holding on to our tickets so we can see you when that happens again. How is it going to feel to be in front of a live audience again, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, hopefully it won't be too... unfortunately, I imagine that the dust will not have settled yet by the time... we're not going to wait for everything to be completely back to normal, probably, because that will take forever. That'll be like 10 years from now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I imagine that there will be a lot of restrictions on how people get to go see music, even by the time we're able to go and perform in front of people. And it's a drag. I'm obviously I want to go back to 2015 mostly, but that is not a possibility. And I know things are really awful right now in the part of the country where you guys are, and it actually at the moment I guess things are continuing to get worse everywhere because the winter's coming. So I mean, we'll all meet on the other side. I don't know what that's going to be like. I'm very hopeful, but it's going to be a while.
Well, I know as a fan, a couple weeks ago, we had our pledge drive here at the station, and Tim and I go on the air for 24 hours straight. So this 12 hours doesn't seem like so much after that because it was just a couple weeks ago. But we were able to bring in some musicians, and they played live music, and that's the first live music I've been able to see in
a long, long time. And you get really emotional. You don't realize how much you miss having that, and how much you kind of took for granted that you could just see that any night of the week. And so I think it'll be a pretty emotional experience to be able to see
these shows and see your favorite bands and musicians, and then be around people who are feeling the exact same way. I think it's going to be.
Yeah, I suppose that's right. I mean, it's the only thing that is remotely parallel to it is we had a tour that the first part of it got canceled because of 9/11. We were unable to get on an airplane and fly to the first gig because nobody could fly anywhere. And the tour was supposed to begin on September 11th. And so that's a very different situation to the one we're in now. But it was very strange when we finally did begin the tour, which is probably only, I don't know, I'm forgetting now. It was only like a week or so after the events of 9/11 that we started the tour that had been postponed. But we didn't know what to say when we got on stage. Everything felt very strange, and everything that we were used to doing felt a little bit inappropriate, and I think everybody in the audience felt the same way, like, wow, we're doing this thing that we have done in the past, but now everything's changed. And so how does it work now?
Yeah.
Gradually, after not too much time, things started to get back to normal after 9/11. And I imagine I'm hoping it'll be the same thing after COVID has kind of settled down. But who knows? Maybe everything's permanently different,
Yeah, it's really hard to say. You can just go out there and say, boy, it's good to be back, and the crowd will just go crazy.
Yeah.
They'll be like, excuse me, but no, it's not good to be back. Because things suck, man. Who knows? I don't know.
I have a question here from Kevin in Mundelein, Illinois. Has there ever been an album where you look back and realize you subconsciously gave the album a theme? Like, wow, now that I think about it, The Spine is really about fear of technology.
Well, yeah, I suppose generally, far be it for me to make some overarching, like, this is about that. I sort of prefer, and I think John feels the same way, like, I kind of prefer to let the song do the talking, or the album, and not say, like, by the way, the secret hidden message is this, But having said that, I will say that we look back on the Else, for example, and we started to notice that there were a lot of themes relating to what was happening at the time. And it wasn't strictly that, but there were sort of like, not precisely topical, but sort of vaguely, zeitgeisty kind of things going on with the Else, for example. And we try to write songs that are suggestive without being too thuddingly, about something very specific.
Sure. I'm looking at the Else right now and going, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Well, in particular, so yeah, now that I've said that, I can't. I remember that the Mesopotamians was kind of like, oh yeah, there are these people in the Middle East, and we just invaded their country, and who are they, and what are they all about? And so, in some ways, the Mesopotamians was a little bit discussing that idea, but it was, of course, also about the monkeys.
And then there's shadow government, counter coup.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
The smash hit song of the summer that began us declaring smash hit songs of the summer, or at least I declared Take Out the Trash to be the smash hit song of the summer for 2007. And then and then we've let listeners vote for that ever since. But that's how I always remember this album. It's the very first smash hit song this summer that I've ever declared for Take Out the Trash. Although
Right.
Tim said it should have been the Mesopotamians.
I love the Mesopotamians.
Right. Well, yeah. There's smash hits in our minds, I guess.
Exactly.
Well, we're fond of saying shuffle function. Nobody plays fewer hits.
Right.
So we're right there with you. Let's see. I've gotten a couple of questions that I'm getting a lot of text questions. So I hope you don't mind if I just keep
I don't
piling
mind
some
at all.
on. Let's see. They wanted to know if it'd be possible, and I think John Flansburgh actually spoke to some of this about live streaming some flood concerts that folks might not be able to go to. But I think Flans said that the technology is still a little sketchy on all of that. So
That's very funny. Yeah, they're still working on the whole streaming thing.
yeah.
After 25 years. Yeah, we were supposed to be doing a flood tour, as I recall. So yeah. I don't know what. Sorry, what was the question?
Wanting to know if that be something that you guys might consider an alternative to doing shows of doing.
I see. Right, because we're not playing in front of people.
Yeah, to
right.
live stream some of those instead.
I think that, I would say, frankly, the problem isn't that we can't do live streaming. The problem is that going to be any good? Is that going to meet with our own? There's something very tiny about watching a band on your computer screen.
Yeah.
And I obviously the idea is we'd want to do something good, So if it just seemed too postage stampy, I think that would be the reason why we be hesitant to do it. But yeah, we want to do our thing.
I have a question. Somebody wants to know if either you or John Flansburgh still have in your possession a tape of They Might Be Giants singing "Don't Worry, Kyoko."
Oh, well, that would be Flans would have it if he does have it, because he was the owner of the reel-to-reel tape recorder on which it was recorded. Yeah, you'd have to ask him that. I don't know whether he has that recording or not.
He did mention a tub of things from Dial-A-Song this morning when we were talking to him, a tub of tapes for that. Somebody wants me to just ask you straight up to make you answer XTC or Adam Ant.
I think the world needs both. We cannot be forced to choose.
The lyrics say that. There is no right or wrong.
There is no right or wrong. That's exactly right. Yeah, there is a time and a place for both.
I tried, everybody.
Well, here's a question from John in Lansing. What are some of your favorite obscure, rare, or B-side non-album tracks from the band?
Oh, by us?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's a lot of them, so I understand if it's overwhelming.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know. I guess I don't have a favorite.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's
same,
okay.
Same answer as the last question.
Let's see. Now, Tom and Chantil, did you guys have anything that you wanted to add? Because we're coming up on an hour, and so I don't want to take up all of your time.
Well, I could read just a short little story that John might appreciate. This is from Jonah in Gibbon, Minnesota. And Jonah says, I am a high school student just down the road from Mankato. I taught myself how to play the accordion by using guitar tabs from TMBG songs, starting with She's an Angel and Birdhouse in Your Soul. I've only gained my squeeze box skills because I was inspired by They Might Be Giants.
Nice.
That's great.
I thought that you might be flattered by that.
Terrific.
Boy, you could probably give lessons. You could sign up folks to have lessons.
Right.
Of course, in a non-COVID day
or a
and age.
master class.
Yeah. There you go. There's your streaming.
Yeah.
Alternative, John. Your side hustle.
Yes. I it just sounds like I feel like I would be an abject failure at trying to teach people stuff online, but that's me.
Well, I have one personal question that I want to ask maybe before we end, and I asked John earlier about this too. And I don't know if you have are you a record collector at all?
Flans is the real, he sort of takes the whole vinyl collecting thing much more seriously. I can actually see my entire record collection across the room right now, and it's like the bottom shelf of.
Okay.
It's not. I don't own a lot of records now.
I was going to ask you if there's a way that you organize your record collection, because we've been debating the right and wrong ways to do that amongst ourselves.
And what are the wrong ways?
Well, Tim and I have a lot of records. We were talking about this yesterday. I have my records broken up into genres, and then to get even more specific, into like decades. So I have like 70s down as one shelf. I've got lounge music on one big shelf, and I've got jazz one shelf. But within like say my 80s and up kind of stuff, I'll have all the I have all of your albums on vinyl, except for Main Car, because it's not out yet. And I was told that I need to then put all of my like 25, 30 albums by They Might Be Giants into the best way to do it is by the way they've been released
chronologically.
by date, chronologically.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
And I've not gone to that extent. I have them all together, but then I'll also put we were talking about Velvet Underground. With my Velvet Underground, I've got Mo Tucker, John Cale, Lou Reed, all those thrown in with the Velvet Underground, and that seemed to be okay. That seemed to not get a lot of, but it was mostly my laziness of not putting the chronological order of album releases.
Yeah, I can see that. If you were fussy about organizing, it would be. I tend to think chronology is important in organizing.
Tim is raising his hands in victory.
But you know, I had a roommate in college who filed his Jethro Tull albums under T, and I kind of felt like, I felt like, if you know where they are, it's like the system. Point of the system is you want to be able to find something.
Yes.
So you got your own mental categories.
Well, thank you so much, John, for joining us and giving us another hour of your time.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Yeah,
glad you guys are still pursuing this. And congratulations, by the way.
This is the seventh year that we've been doing this, and it just it just gets bigger and bigger.
That it's getting bigger. Yeah, that's insane. But you guys you had a vision, and
that's generous.
Well, I love that we are able to say that we've, for so many years in a row now, it's gotten just too easy for us to get all requests from all 7 continents and all 50 states. That we've been there, done that. So I love that we've come that far, but literally the whole world is just requesting your music, and I don't think we could spend the whole week, and I don't think we get to play all the requests that we're getting. True. So
it's cool. Well, now I guess so. At this point, you've got all the continents, but you still don't have all the countries, right? I presume
that is
you
true.
You just picked up France, so that is the next challenge, is to get
start going for some of the tinier countries.
Yeah, Uzbekistan and everybody to call in. Challenge.
Well, thank you, John. Stay safe, and we look forward to everything that's coming out soon.
Yeah.
And hopefully get to see you guys on the stage again.
It will happen eventually. Yeah.
Yes.
And we'll see you then, and we'll come by and visit you again. That was.
Oh, please do.
That would be awesome.
You're making Tom and Chantil dance in the other room.
It may be a while, but
yeah.
Look forward to it.
Well, take care.
All right, great. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.